Hello, I'm Amari Jones, and today is April 23rd. This is Caffeine TV, your daily news brief, here to take you through 3 headline numbers in just 3 minutes, giving you a different take on everything from housing policy to the Real Housewives. The first number today is 18, which of course was the age of Michael Brown when he was shot and killed by Officer Darren Wilson in Ferguson. And later today, the parents of Michael Brown will file a wrongful death civil suit against the city of Ferguson in an attempt to hold someone or something accountable for the death of their son. Of course, all of this takes place against the backdrop of a second night of demonstrations in Baltimore against the death of Freddie Gray, another unarmed black man who died while in contact with the police, as we spoke about yesterday. Now, as you know, Officer Darren Wilson was not indicted criminally by a local grand jury and was not found to have done any criminal wrongdoing in terms of federal law by the Justice Department, but the Justice Department did find that there was a climate of racism and hate inside of the Ferguson Police Department, which might have contributed to the death of Michael Brown, and that will likely be the basis of the civil suit. Now, the threshold for proving guilt in a civil suit is different than in a criminal suit. Basically, in a civil suit, you have to prove that someone is 51% guilty versus more than 90% guilty in a criminal case. So the Browns actually have a chance here. But if they win, they'll be compensated with money for having lost their son. But it's hard to imagine that there's enough money in the world to take away what they've been through. The next number today is 20, as in $20 a month. That's the cost of a new cell phone service announced by Google yesterday, Project Fee. Now, at that rate, you'll be able to make unlimited phone calls and unlimited text, but data will cost you an additional $10 for each gigabyte. But Google says that if you switch, you'll actually be able to save money. That's because they'll give you cash refunds for any unused data, unlike current carriers, which roll it over or don't give it back to you at all, and say that you'll be able to save almost $30 a month if you switch. Now, Project Fee has a couple of wrinkles in it. The first is that it'll be delivered over the Sprint and T-Mobile networks, don't groan, and there's only one cell phone that it'll work on initially, and that's Google's Nexus 6. But what's interesting about all of this is that it takes place against the backdrop of the European Union's charge of monopolistic behavior on the part of Google, but Google announcing this just several days after the European Union charge just pulled out several seats for the EU. But honestly, I wonder where this is all heading. Will I eventually end up going to Google Joe's in order to get my tofu wasabi? The last number up today is 2, as in twins, and it relates to the story of PhD student Yamini Karanam itself, right out of the movie Aliens. Now, for months, Ms. Karanam had felt unwell with dizziness and memory loss, followed by debilitating headaches. She thought that it was a brain tumor, made her way to a doctor who conducted an MRI. He did find something in her brain, but it wasn't a tumor. It was a partially developed human embryo with teeth and bone and hair. Somehow, he managed to remove it without damaging her brain, and she's made a full recovery. But human embryos and the wrong parts of human bodies aren't as unheard of as you might think. There's a medical name for them called teratoma. As a matter of fact, as the Washington Post points out, there's a famous case of a man in Great Britain back in 2009 who felt movement in his abdomen, which burst forth into a partially developed fetus, which he named Little Gav. Well, it just goes to show you that the next time you're watching a science fiction movie, you might be watching science fact.